In chapter 3, we heard about selfless action, performing our duties as service. In chapter 4, Krishna goes a bit deeper. He goes into why we act, what motivates us to act, and how knowledge plays a role in our actions. That's why it is titled Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. But he begins with an interesting statement. He says to Arjuna that what he was going to tell Arjuna is not anything new. Remember, he is stating this 3,000 years ago when Bhagavad Gita was written, or more, or a few years here or there. But when he is making that statement, he says this is an age-old lore. Thousands of years people knew this. Some have forgotten it. Very few follow it now. The framework within which a society functions may be different from time to time. Science changes, and philosophy is slightly different depending on region. Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy. Eastern may be group-oriented, Western is individual-oriented, overgeneralizing it. Culture gives us framework. So the framework changes a little bit over time. But what has not changed at all about our human existence is the basic qualities such as fear, desire, wanting to establish one's superiority in using conflicts, looking for a purpose in life or meaning in life, maybe a subtle difference between the two. That has not changed. Bhagavad Gita is focusing directly on those basic characteristics, not the framework. That is why when Krishna makes this statement to Arjuna that the message he is going to pass on to him is not new. It's been around, just that people have forgotten. What's relevant at that time and 3,000 years since, today it is relevant also. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashiyo viduhu sakala neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. Essentially saying this wisdom has been passed through for a long time, just that people have forgotten. It has gotten lost. Arjuna then asks a very interesting question, because in saying it's been there for a long time, Krishna mentions that I actually taught this to Surya Bhagavan, which is the sun itself, which means the knowledge has been around for billions of years. And that sort of confuses Arjuna. And it would confuse us too. How can that be? So Arjuna asks, you are only here now. How come you're talking about something that happened a long, long time ago? Krishna then says at that time that what you're seeing is only a manifestation, a symbol of who created everything, created the universe, created you. I am that person. But you see me this way because that is all you can understand. But I come every time there is chaos. Remember, physics, modern physics says disorder is the rule of the universe. Chaos everywhere. It may look like everything is going fine, the earth is revolving around the sun, all the planets are following suit, but we know that eventually earth will slowly move towards the sun and it will be consumed by it. A similar action takes place throughout the universe. But Krishna says, on earth, when that chaos goes beyond control, anywhere in the universe, things go beyond control, I come in. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuddhanam dharmasya tadatmanam shrajamyaham paritranaya sadhuna vinasaya sadushkridam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I will be there anytime chaos is out of control. That's perhaps the basis of our oscillation theory. Even the universe goes out of control eventually, and then it has to come back. Something has to stop it. So, having clarified that doubt for Arjuna, he goes into the message of chapter 4. He underscores that nothing in this world comes without sacrifice. If a student wants to succeed and get good grades, pass the exams, he or she must sacrifice leisure. A researcher wants good results, achieve some goals, they must sacrifice time. An athlete sacrifices convenience. A parent sacrifices comfort. A child waking up in the middle of the night and crying means you cannot comfortably sleep. You wake up, don't complain, pacify the child, and go back, try to go to sleep. So why do we do that? So that the child can grow. All goals come to fruition only from some kind of sacrifice. Then Krishna adds, so everything you want to achieve is going to be needing some sacrifice. What do you sacrifice for is where the difference is. So how do we know which is good sacrifice? We perform rituals. Do we know why we do the rituals? We always understand what is the ritual supposed to give us. If I want rain, I can do a specific type of yajna. For wealth, for health and all that, there are homams. These rituals, we know what we are going to gain from them, but why we are doing that, why are we sacrificing certain things in those rituals is forgotten. Nobody understands. To make that clear, maybe one example that comes to my mind is from my own experience. Once when I was younger, 50 years ago, my father was around and I put on my shirt. And as soon as I put on my shirt and started buttoning, one of them came off. So this is just before going to college. So I said, oh, this is bad, so I need to stitch it. So I quickly found needle and thread and started fixing that the button on the shirt while wearing it. My father saw it and he yelled, "No, no, 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 don't do that." He could have said, "Well, you'll hurt yourself if you try to do that because you're in a hurry." But that wouldn't have stopped me because I was invincible at that age. I would have said, nothing will happen. I said, "Well, why not?" And he said, "Well, it reminds me of something that is very unpleasant." After probing a little bit, I found out that only time when somebody stitches clothing while wearing is when that person has passed. And that image my father wouldn't accept. But the instruction given, the main purpose is you will hurt yourself. You can add this other grotesque imagery to make that register in our minds, but it is not necessary, and that is not the main purpose. So the knowledge that Krishna is talking about is knowing why you are doing something or why you don't do something. So Gita underscores that ask. I did follow that at least. I asked my father, why shouldn't I do that? Once he gave me the reasoning, whatever it was, I just removed my shirt and stitched, followed what is right. But that's what it's asking us to do. Gita is asking anytime anybody says, do this ritual, do that ritual, or follow this method, do this service, sacrifice this, ask why. What is the purpose of it? Not in an arrogant manner, not to question authority, but to understand why. And whenever possible, give that knowledge as well. Sacrifice of knowledge is superior to material sacrifice. Bhagavad Gita says in this chapter. Knowledge transforms external practice into internal growth. So in this chapter, what it is telling us is that know before why you're sacrificing. In other words, know before any actions why you're acting, underscoring the importance of learning and self-discovery. But for that, we do need guidance. The guidance could come from anywhere. It doesn't have to be a person. It would be nice if we all have the luxury of having a mentor, a guru. If that is not available, we have the scriptures or we have books. But whatever may be the means, we must find that guidance somewhere. It cannot all come from within. The answers to the questions you're going to have must come from externally. So that message is important in this chapter as well. If I am to act based on knowledge, where do I gain that knowledge? Through asking, learning, reading is the emphasis here. Krishna says, cut away this ignorance with the sword of knowledge. He's talking to a warrior, so he's giving him his sermon in a language that the warrior can understand. So he is equating ignorance to the enemy and knowledge as the weapon. So he says, take that knowledge and slay the ignorance, gain wisdom. For that, Krishna mentions that one need good discipline and practice as well as reflection. Once again, I remember my advice and something that I practiced as a student, and I used to advise my students, please spend 15 minutes before class and 15 minutes after class on the material that is going to be taught during the class. So 15 minutes after class is reflection. 15 minutes before class is discipline. So in a sentence, if I have to summarize chapter 4, it essentially says that our actions become meaningful when it is based on knowledge. And our sacrifices become transformative when they are performed selflessly. If doubts are dispelled with wisdom, then we can lead our lives fully.